Okay, thank you so much for speaking with us at Glitter today. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you? Thanks for taking the time.
I'm doing well. So happy Fashion Week.
Can't believe it.
I
It's
know.
already fall.
Right, right. So just tell me so far, how has your Fashion Week been? What are some highlights?
Sure, yeah. It's been good. We've had this like major heat wave, which has been wild. It's kind of thrown off my outfits a little bit, but I guess it's good for the designers considering they're showing spring summer. So maybe it'd be like a little bit more aligned with the theme of the whole week. But yeah, it's been good. I've been seeing like a lot of great shows, really happy with the product that's coming out and the new trend or inspiration to follow. So I'm pumped about that.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have any favorite shows at the moment?
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's a lot of them, but I would have to say my favorite is probably Kate and not being biased
Mhm.
and Brandon Maxwell. I think that the two of them, like how they played with layering, which is also very similar, aesthetics as Abel Honor, but a lot of layers, boxy construction, um, like different mixed medias with like a sheer mixed with a tailored top and stuff. And I just thought they executed it perfectly, and I loved it.
That's awesome. And now, before we delve into what we're seeing this week, let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about your early beginnings. So, you say that you've been drawing and creating basically since you could hold a pen. So,
Oh my
I
god.
feel like that could lead to so many different careers and industries. So, how did you land on fashion?
Yeah, totally. So I always say that overall, I consider myself an artist first before a designer. And then, yeah, I mean, I was drawing before I would learn to like write. So I've always had a pen, pencil, whatever you could find in my hand, chalk, whatever it is. And I think that I was fine arts is like my main medium. And then around like third grade, I started to really dive into clothing and really getting into expressing yourself in that avenue. So I think when I was like around seventh grade, I kept them separate. And then I was like, what am I doing? Let's put them together. And it's just another form of art. So I decided that that was the route that I wanted to take was fashion design.
That's awesome. And so you ended up obtaining your BFA from Parsons. And then
Yeah.
since then, you went on to work at major fashion houses like Michael Kors, Christian Dior, Ralph Lauren. So tell me a little bit about what that experience was like.
Yeah. I mean, they were amazing. Every single experience was completely different for me. And I learned a lot from each separate house. But I do think that I attribute a ton of what I learned today from my mentors there. And like, for instance, I learned at Ralph Lauren, I've learned lifestyle, like how to create like a lifestyle brand, which we are trying to, event Ralph's been around forever, but hopefully we'll be one of those 40 years down the road as well. And then at Dior, I learned, the like quality and refinement. And then at Kors, I really learned reach. So I
Mhm.
kind of put those all together. And weirdly enough, it does, even though Abel Honor from the outside might not look very similar to those three designers separately, but we are pretty much running in the same ball game as well as kind of aesthetic in a sense and quality and like overall morale.
Right. I think that's so cool because, like you said, you kind of took a little bit from here, took a little bit from there, and then you were able to create your own unique brand out of that. So I think that was really cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's been fun. It's been like I said, I really couldn't have done any of this without my mentors from the past. So it takes time to build, but I'm so happy I didn't just jump right into it after school.
That's awesome. And so with that, you also created Kate Wasserbach Designs, where you specialize in styling red carpet looks, album covers, even worked on Sons of Anarchy. So
Yeah.
can you tell me a little bit about your experience and what was that like? And how exactly did also working at the fashion houses alongside kind of maybe correlate?
Sure. Yeah, so I started that right when I got out of school, and I was kind of like a broke college student, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? And I knew that my 5-year plan, everyone tells you to do your 5-year plan. So my 5-year plan was I wanted to start Able Honor. So that was a part of my plan ever since I dreamed this up of being a fashion designer in seventh grade. So I took all the steps necessary to get to where I was in come 2018. But yeah, so when I graduated college, I wanted to find a design house that would really give me all of the tools needed to start Abel Honor. So in a sense, I was holding out for a hero, as you would say. And in the meantime, I was like, all right, I need to start making some money.
Mm.
And we go back to the point of me saying that I was an artist first before I was a designer. So I pretty much was like, listen, I'll do whatever you want. You want me to make you an album cover? Like, I can do that. I can do, a red carpet look. I can do, and graphic design. I did it all. So that's why I was like more of a design house rather than fashion design. And then I finally landed the job at Kors, and that was really like jump started my career into fashion design, which further led to Abel Honor.
So let's talk a little bit about Abel Honor. First of all, how did that name come about?
Yeah. So when I first started Abel Honor, and I know it's a little bit unconventional to not have, especially I think in my generation, to not have your name be your label name.
Mhm.
And I didn't want that because I felt that at that point in my life, I made the connections that I needed to within the industry. But I really wanted to see, I had a blank slate, and I really wanted to see it to have its own name and to see like where it kind of took off without my complete, I mean, I'd be behind the scenes, but without my complete like driving the car and saying this is a Kate Wasserbach design. So overall, I specialized in women's wear, but I eventually wanted to get into menswear, unisex, all of that, and I didn't want to pivot whole our our brand. And I felt that Kate Wasserbach just felt a little bit more feminine. So I think that like for both men and women at the time, I really wanted something that was very strong, a very strong name. So I used to do this in like second grade. We did like these mind maps, and it looks like this like web. You get like, I came up with two main sources that meant strength to me, because I think the overall idea, I wanted people to feel empowered in our brand and in our clothes. So I was like, all right, what does strength mean to you? And in less of a literal term, I kind of was thinking of the values that were instilled in me. And the first one that I came up with was someone who is like a can-do person and someone who's very willing and able. And then the other one I did was a very loyal person and someone's very honorable. So I took Abel Honor, and I thought that sounded very strong and kind of aligned with the idea that I was going with. And I changed, instead of it being Abel, A-B-L-E, I changed the name Abel to kind of also give the idea that maybe it is someone's name. So Abel Honor. And then right before my grandfather passed, he was so proud of me that I was starting my brand. And he said, oh, he calls me Munchie. He said, oh, Munch, you have to put in New York. Like, that's where you're from. That's your roots, all that. Like, and that's what all the great designers do. So Abel Honor New York is what it was and what it is.
That's so cool. I'm not gonna lie. When I heard Abel, I also thought it was like named after a person. So I really like that you were able to take that concept, Abel. I
Yeah.
like that you took that concept and made that name for yourself. And it is one of those names that is more unique because it's not necessarily your name, but it
Sure.
is your brand.
Yeah, I mean, we get so many different. It's funny what people think it is. They're like, "Oh, is it your grandfather's name, or is it a biblical context where?" Which is kind of cool. It could be because, like with Cain and Abel, like Abel was the good brother, so at least we're not the evil brother, but wasn't that either. But it is funny to kind of hear the different speculations behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so Abel Honor New York, the style is described, and I have to read this because I want to get the
Sure.
style is described as the brand for rebellious IT girls, encapsulating a unique mix of juxtaposing ideas, punk rock with feminine florals, and angelic imagery with combat boots. So the first thing that I immediately think of is Gossip Girl. You have Jen Humphrey, you have Blair Waldorf, you have Serena. They all had, and although they all had their own unique style, you saw the different styles within the character. So that's the first thing that I thought about. So how did you come to this idea, and how did you ensure that it's being shown through your work?
Yeah. So I think going back to, again, just me being an artist, I think that I always use, whether it's juxtaposing a outfit together or juxtaposing something on a canvas, I always will use irony. So I always loved like the highs, the lows, the north, the south, etc., whatever, what have you. And so irony is always a big, big play whenever I design anything. And so I think that it kind of keeps like a sense of intrigueness for the viewer. It keeps people guessing. There's so much to do with it, but it also harmonizes. So if you have something that may be a little bit too edgy, you could be like, oh, let's put some florals on it. It's something that someone wouldn't think about. And you're kind of like, wow, this was a challenge for the designer and they pulled it off great. So that was the kind of idea that we always have. And down to our roots, we are constantly doing irony and, a sense of just like what's out there with what's comfortable. And we love it all. When we paint our girl or our guy in the beginning of a season of our design process, we're kind of like, okay, it's like the jock who also loves to read books, like that kind of thing. Like, who is she, who is he, who is she, where's he going, where's she eating, all that stuff. But the girl or the guy is definitely an intriguing, very like juicy person and has a lot of different traits that maybe some people wouldn't see on the outside.
I really like that because for a lot of people, style isn't just this one particular aesthetic. A
Completely.
lot of people like to mix and match. So I think that is really cool. And I like how that's shown in your line. So I think that's really
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, fashion and design it's just another form of art. So, I always think that like art isn't, and just like how someone would, you know, make an outfit, it would be like, okay, I never want someone to say, "Oh, she looks pretty." I want someone to say, "Oh, she makes me feel something." So it's kind of like art. It's not supposed to look pretty, it's supposed to make you feel something.
it is so evident basically that you're knowledgeable in your craft and your field. So let's talk trends. It is fashion week. We can't let you go without talking trends. So
Yes.
start off, let's talk about some trends that maybe stuck around from last season. Is there anything that we're seeing that either stuck around or might be adapted into, a similar format?
Yeah, for sure. I think that first off, like I am not a huge trend fan. We always say like I think that aligns with kind of our brand as well, is that we always like to say we don't follow trends, we kind of make trends. And I think just a lot of designers probably say that. I'm not the only one. But I think there's room for, as designers, it's our duty to bring back historical references or innovation, or bring in new, brand identity or sustainability concepts. So I think with trends, it's like, if you're already doing that, and we're just not the design house that does do that, but if you're already doing that, then it's already been done. And what's kind of innovative about that? But I will say the things that I absolutely adore that have been brought to this season, and I think have done a little bit better than last season, are certainly the intricacy of like boning in corsets, boxy tailoring, which I adore and love, flowy oversized things, asymmetrical hems, and again, like a lot of the mixed media that I was mentioning earlier, that I really love as well.
Listen, I love me a good oversized blazer. Like they just look so good. Like
Nothing better.
right. It's like you look really cute, but then you also look like very businessy because you can pair them with shorts, you can pair them with essentially everything. And then
And,
if you
and
like it's perfect.
yeah, you look cool. You're like, oh, you can pull off, your boyfriend's, jacket, or, is there anything better than like the bride at the end of the night when she's wearing like her new husband's like, tuxedo jacket? Like it's awesome. I love that. I love that whole entire look.
Me too. And so let's talk about what's new. We were hearing a lot that for this fall, cherry red was the color. Do you think that's true? And also, what's new?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So Cherry Red is certainly, I've seen it actually in the two shows that I adored, which was Brendan Maxwell and Kate. And they have just like this, at first it's like a very like monotone black, white, gray. And then like halfway through the show, they'll just come out with like this stunner piece that's cherry red from like head to toe. And so it's funny you say that, because I was like, wow, what a, it really, being cherry red, you don't think it's a breath of fresh air, but it was like an exciting breath of fresh air where it almost like took your breath away in a different way. And I loved it. I think it's like here to stay. I think it really like plays off of the old like 90s pretty woman idea, which like I know the 90s is having like the heartthrob is like coming back. So I love it. It's great.
And so we have to talk what's out, what are some things that people might be getting rid of in their closets? Is it a long list? I don't
Oh
know.
boy. Um, let's see what's out. Oh, I think like the 60s vibe, which like I'm so happy to see go, like with the geo patterns and like the shift dresses and the big blocky heels. Love Tweety, but like this is definitely more my vibe what I'm seeing today or this week.
For sure. And I like the fact that you brought up, we don't necessarily follow trends, we make trends, and that your brand overall isn't really big on trends because it's New York Fashion Week. And as we talk trends, you're going to have your people that are like, but it's so hard to keep up with, and they don't necessarily like to follow trends, or they might be hesitant. So, what do
Right.
you have to say to somebody who is hesitant or maybe just overwhelmed at this like overconsumption, like this revolving door of trends?
I'd say continue with that moral compass because that is like so my vibe. We as a brand are trying to work against fast fashion and bring the consumer back to like quality. So I really think at the end of the day, people who like what they like, they're gonna end up wearing what they like. I could have 10 jeans in my closet, and at the end of the day, every week I wear the same two jeans that I like because they fit me well and I feel most comfortable with it in it. And I think the major trend that's here to stay is confidence. So if you wear something, like, don't try to try to make a square fit into a circle peg or whatever they say. At the end of the day, do something that you feel comfortable with, and that's what's going to look best on you. If florals are like all the rage and you just don't like florals and they're not your thing, like when you put it on, people will know, you'll feel uncomfortable. It's a night ruiner. So go back to what you feel comfortable with, and at the same time, that helps in zero waste, it helps in sustainability, and it helps in maintaining a strong wardrobe that you can live with for a very long time, and perhaps pass down to generations next.
The trend is confidence. I love that.
And that's the trend.
There are some times where people follow trends and it's like, but I don't feel comfortable in this. But at times you look your best when you feel your best.
Right.
Mhm.
That is so true, and I cannot stress that enough. Abel Honor might not be for everyone, but we're not trying to make it for everyone. We're trying to make it for the people that you know feel feel that they align with it. So that's here to stay.
That's awesome. And as we wrap up, Kate, I want to ask you, what is your advice to somebody who looks at your career, looks at what you've done, and say, like, that's where I want to be, that's what I want to do? What is your advice to them?
I would say, wow, there's so much to say. I think that stay in your lane. In fashion, it's so easy in this industry, whether you're a consumer or a designer or a manufacturer or a producer or an influencer, it's so easy to compare yourself to other people. Um, and I think just in all successes or in all careers, success comes and goes. It's an ebbs and flow. So if you look at the person next to you who's been in the industry the same amount of time, and maybe you see them with great successes and you don't have that, your time will come. That's their time to have success. So I think stay in your lane, hang tight, and never stop never stop learning. Um, Especially being a designer and an artist, you can get inspiration from everywhere. It doesn't have to be at the New York Public Library. It can be out on the streets. It can be, again, I can't stress enough how much fashion is a form of art, but so is conversing. That's a form of art too. Creativity is used everywhere. So really tap into your feelings. How did that person make you feel? If that person really made you went out and you met someone the night before and they made you feel great, it's like, well, how would you encapsulate that in a print or in a story or in anything, in a painting? So I think keep your eyes open, stay humble, and just keep learning is my biggest advice that I could give to someone. And good luck.
What a way to wrap up this interview. I think the last two questions specifically, just the advice that you gave, I think it was amazing. So, Kate, I want to thank you so much for speaking with us at Glitter and wishing you a happy rest of Fashion Week.
Thank you. You're so sweet, and I'm glad you took the time to meet with me. It was a pleasure. Enjoy
Thank
the nice weather. Oh my goodness, so excited.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Have a good one. Bye.